Hey, what's up everyone? This is Kevin from Hapayu Gardening, and welcome to episode 3 of our season-long experiment to answer the question, what is the best soil mix for raised garden beds? In the first 2 episodes, I gave you an overview of our season-long experiment, including the kind of soil mixes that we're using, as well as an intro to some of our plants. So if you're interested in catching up, be sure to go to my YouTube channel and check out those other 2 videos. Now in today's episode, I'm going to give you an update. It's been a few weeks, and the weather has been all over the place. We had a few days in the 90s and then evened out into the 70s. And the last few days it's been pretty chilly. It's been in the 60s, and you can see right now I'm actually wearing a flannel shirt in June, which is not exactly normal here around Philly. Now the garden really did take off with those few days in the 90s, and the tomato plants and pepper plants really got a good start. And since then, everything's been really growing well. Now about a month and a half in, I'm really not seeing significant difference between the 3 different soil mixes, the bag soil mix, Mel's mix, and the topsoil compost mix. Now we're only 4 to 6 weeks in, so it's way too early to make a call here, but what I want to do today was give you an update, and we'll give you updates all season long. So if you're interested in following along the progress of this experiment, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. So let's go take a closer look at the garden and give you some updates. Alright, I want to start off in my lowest bed here, which is using a topsoil and compost mix. And I want to specifically talk about tomato plants, specifically this San Marzano tomato plant that I purchased from Home Depot. This has been in for about a month now, and again, it really started taking off during the few days that was in the 90s, and since then it's been growing very nicely. I've also already been trimming some of the lower leaves on this plant and took off some of the lower suckers, and here's one right here, and I'm actually going to pinch this off right now. And this plant is doing really well, and again, this is the topsoil compost mix, and I would say out of all of my tomato plants, this tomato plant specifically seems to be doing the best. You can see that it's already started flowering a little bit as well too, and overall it just looks very healthy. We're looking at the middle bed now, which is using Mel's mix, and I have 4 different tomato plants here. Over there in your top left hand screen is the Roma Tomato plant. In your top right is a San Marzano tomato plant that I started from seed. Here on your bottom right is a Roma cherry tomato plant that I started from seed. And on your left, bottom left, is a Super Sweet 100 cherry tomato plant that I purchased from Home Depot. These plants have all, again, just like the San Marzano and the other bed, have all been doing very well these last several weeks and have also taken off. And just like the San Marzano, I've also pinched off some of the lower leaves and suckers on all but the Roma tomato plant, which is a determinate plant, so you don't want to cut off any of the suckers, or you will see a lower production. Now again, no complaints on how these plants are doing. They're looking really healthy, but I'm not seeing the same kind of growth as I'm seeing with the San Marzano in the topsoil and compost mix, as well as the other plant I'm about to show you. But again, these plants look healthy, and we will see what happens as the season progresses. Alright, and here is my last tomato plant in my last bed, which is using the bag soil mixes. This is also a Roma tomato plant that I purchased from Home Depot, and it was the same size as the other Roma tomato plant that you saw in my middle bed. Now in my opinion, I actually think this one is growing just a little bit better than the sister plant growing in Mel's mix. This plant is a little bit bigger, and it actually has a little bit more blossoms than its sister over there. But again, it's still very early, so we'll see what happens over the next couple of months. Let's talk a little bit about the pepper plants now. I have a number of pepper plants growing in all 3 beds. I have a sweet bell pepper plant that I grew from seed. Over here I also have an orange bell pepper that I purchased from Home Depot, and a garden salsa hot pepper that's also purchased from Home Depot. Now these 2 pepper plants are actually doing okay. You can see that the garden salsa hot pepper plant is actually doing a lot better. It has some significant growth, while the orange bell pepper plant has some yellowing of the leaves, so we'll keep an eye on that guy. The sweet bell pepper plant that I started from seed is starting to really take off as well, and it's starting to branch off as well in the top. Now let's go take a look at the sister plant over in the middle bed in the Mel's mix. And here is the other bell pepper plant that I started from seed, and it is growing in the middle bed in the Mel's mix. And yes, this plant is smaller. I started both plants at the same time from seed, and I transplanted them in a garden at the same time. And when I transplanted them, they were both the same size. So what do I think is going on between the Mel's mix and the bag garden soil? I actually think it might be the fertilizer in the Miracle-Gro garden soil that is causing the other bell pepper plant to grow a bit faster. But I wouldn't say that this plant is unhealthy, and it is still very early, again, like everything else. So we will see what happens, just like everything else. Also in the middle bed is a sweet banana plant that I purchased from Home Depot. And this guy is looking great. It's really taken off these last couple of weeks. It is starting to branch off at the top as well too. Let's go take a look at the other sweet banana plant in the topsoil compost mix. And here is the other sweet banana pepper plant, and you can see that it looks about the same as the other one. It doesn't look too much bigger. It is also starting to branch off the top and starting to see some buds at the top as well too. And again, this is growing in the topsoil and compost. Leaves are also looking pretty healthy, though some insects did get to it. Alright, so that's it for my pepper plants. Let's go take a look at some other stuff that's growing. Next up, romaine lettuce. And I have some romaine lettuce growing in all three beds. They were started approximately the same time, and with the cooler spring, they're actually doing awesome. So this is the topsoil compost mix, and you can see that the romaine lettuce is looking great. And here we are in the middle bed, and here's the romaine growing in the Mel's mix. And you can see it also looks very, very healthy. And then right over in the third bed is the romaine lettuce growing in the bag garden soil. Now you can see that these are a little bit smaller, and I think this is a little bit smaller because they dealt with a little bit of transplant shock when I moved them over from the compost and topsoil mix bed. But they look great, and overall I am very pleased with how these are doing as well. And right next to the romaine lettuce are some bush beans that I started from seed, and these were only planted a few weeks ago. So they're a bit smaller than some of the other bush beans I have in the other beds. But let's go take a look, and we will get an update on these bush beans in a couple of weeks. And here are some string beans that were planted a couple weeks earlier in the Mel's mix, and these are also looking great. With the square foot gardening, it calls for 9 beans in 1 square foot, so there are 9 different bean bushes in this 1 square foot. And then right over there are some bush beans growing in the topsoil and compost. So you can see the bush beans, the string beans in both the topsoil compost mix and the Mel's mix. Both look great, and there is really no noticeable difference at this point. And last but not least, I have a zucchini plant growing here in the topsoil and compost mix bed. This zucchini plant was started from seed. It is looking really great, and it is just really getting started. And I have 2 other zucchini plants growing in the bag garden soil mix in the topmost bed. So let's go take a look at those too. And here are the other zucchini plants growing in the bag garden soil mix. And these 2 were actually transplanted from the other bed. So these plants do look larger. And again, just like the pepper plants, I think that it might be the Miracle-Gro that is causing these plants to grow just a little bit faster. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed this week's update. Be sure to follow along if you're interested in seeing how everything progresses over the next several months. Subscribe to my channel, and I'll be sure to keep you updated with the progress of this experiment. Thanks for watching, everyone. Until next time, happy gardening.